What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here in this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, let's talk about Rebellion packs because we have not talked about them in quite a while. And as you can see here, for Rebellion, we are now officially in the back half of this sale. There are less than 50% available. The rest have either been purchased, sent to the DAO, or burned. So you can see here 3.7 million or 37% has been burned. The DAO is holding about 4% so far, and our we have about 9% just recently crossed over the 900,000 pack amount or quantity for what's currently out there, either open or circulating. So as we're heading into the back half of this sale, things have slowed down considerably. People have left the game. SPS is setting new all-time lows, but I wanted to have a little fun with this. And again, I say this because the meme of myself is I don't like to do predictions, but then I just kind of do them anyway. This is not a price prediction. This is not anything like that. This is purely just trying to figure out how many packs in total are we going to sell. Now, Matt's conservative estimate was anywhere between 1.5 to 2 million. At this rate, we've sold 900,000, so we're about 600,000 short of that conservative estimate. And I'm sure if people started purchasing and we got up to that amount, he'd probably feel a little bit more comfortable in terms of the finances for the company. Although, keep in mind, with DEC being below peg, this is company revenue, and right now they're taking 15, 16% hit. They were previously taking like a 25 to 30% hit, but hopefully as more packs get purchased, as more DEC gets burned, we will get into a place where it'll get back up to peg. But what am I saying when I want to give a prediction here? All right, this is not about trends. This is not about where the market is at. This is not about where the market is going to be. I'm simply arriving at a number which I think is semi-reasonable, and I'm going to give caveats at the end or disclaimers on why this number wouldn't be reasonable, but we'll save that for the end. I'm arriving at this number purely based on one factor, and that is the amount of players that I believe are currently considered hardcore or dedicated players. Now, I'm just coming up with a number here, right? And this is based on what I've seen in terms of like the competitive play that I've done in Modern, which it's been a while since that's been the case, right? But we've seen people be competitive in Modern. So the way that I arrive at this number, and sorry, let me not stop teasing the number, is 1.7 million. Okay, 1.7 million packs, which puts us right in the range of what Matt had initially estimated. Now, the way that I arrive at that number is simply taking the amount of packs per maxed deck, which is about 3,400, and multiplying that by 500 players. Now, why 500? Well, because I do believe that anybody who's successful in Modern right now and earning a ton of SPS will want to make sure that they have a maxed deck by the time we get close to Chaos rotating out and a new set coming in. Because especially if we don't have that many packs sold for Rebellion, we are going to be in a situation where, the new set comes out and people who have Rebellion, it'll be like an Untamed situation in the the first iteration of Modern format, where if you had these scarce cards that nobody else had, it just puts you, light years ahead of anybody else and, keeps you in the upper echelon of the competitive play. So is 500 too much? Maybe, right? I don't know, maybe. But from what I've seen, and again, I have not competed in Modern in a while, but from what I've seen, playing in gold, getting into like low diamond, there are definitely folks trying to be competitive. And I do believe that those folks are, hardcore supporters enough that they'll go in and max out the Rebellion, their Rebellion decks. Now, here's the thing, okay? What this doesn't include, but it kind of helps to pad my numbers anyway, or just gives me a little bit more of a conservative feel to this, makes me a little bit more comfortable, is the fact that you're going to have folks like myself, potentially, and others who may not be totally sold on Rebellion. Yeah, I mean, of course, I want to collect as much Rebellion as possible, and I'm biding my time slowly and steadily. But there are definitely cards that I think if I want to be competitive in the future, either in Modern or Wild, I'm probably going to need to have, namely some of those summoners. Now, you could probably look at, I'm going to keep the promo cards out because those aren't in packs, right? But, some of the summoners, the legendary summoners, we probably look at some of the other legendary cards that have been associated with the set. There's been some pretty great airdrops so far, right? I'm looking at you, Venka, right? I get beat by that card all the time. So if there are certain cards, those will provide enough of a chase, right? There'll be chase cards enough that people will open packs for them, in my opinion, right? Because I wouldn't even consider myself one of the 500 that would want a maxed deck, but I probably want 500, sorry, not 500. I probably want to get, max copies of at least some of the legendary summoners, if not all, over time. So that being said, I'm almost like adding to that because like for every summoner I would take, for every card that I would take, that requires more packs to be purchased and opened, right? If you just have the 1.7 million packs purchased and opened and you had 500 players, you get roughly the amount that you need. Again, it's not going to be perfect because it all comes down to RNG. But when you have players like myself, and I'm sure many others that are dipping into that and, kind of picking and choosing cards, you take that away from the other players, and therefore that leads to actually more packs being open. So what that means is that I'm kind of hedging my bets here, right? There's enough folks who are casual enough like myself versus the hardcore that even if the hardcore number is not at 500, maybe it's at 400 or 300, you're going to have other folks that are coming in and wanting to get certain cards, which will lead to more packs needing to be open in order for people to complete their collections before it's all said and done. So again, that's a rough estimate. It's a prediction, not based on anything when it comes to the game economy, the game, the team's performance, the token performance. It's literally just looking at how many competitive players there are in the game, in my opinion, right? I think we probably can get close to 500. Maybe it's less, right? But, and here's the thing. You're saying like, you're probably thinking like, well, they're competitive, but they don't need the decks right now. And you're right. But this is what I'm saying, as we get closer to the end of the sale, if they see the values holding decently well, or they dip enough, and this is where it gets important, right? If they dip enough, then you might get people that go a little bit heavier into Rebellion, which leads to those sales, right? So all of a sudden the floor gets eaten up, and then people need more cards. The value goes high enough that, somebody wants to go in there and do these massive pack purchases with the bulk buys that essentially get the cards out and into circulation a little bit cheaper. So that all being said, right, 1.7 million, again, I'm not going to die on this hill. That's just the number that came up when I was calculating it out and trying to give my best estimate. But the huge caveat here, and I've called this out before, is this number right here. 400,000 packs currently sitting in the DAO. And if we can imagine, right, similar pack sales or whatever moving through between now and the end of the year, this could probably get close to 800,000, right, or cross 800,000, which means if we're looking at 1.7 million, you're going to have a 50% pack inflation potential sitting in the DAO that just has to get people to vote for it, right? Whether it's prizes used for some kind of event or maybe rewards given out, who knows? But that number I find scary, and the fact that it's going to grow even further is even scarier, and therefore that's like my huge disclaimer on this 1.7 million, because if there's going to be packs given out, and I don't know what other kind of events the team might be running between now and the end of the year, right? Especially with like promo cards and stuff like that. I'm not talking about sale events, right? But just like things that would cause the DAO to offload those packs and bring them into circulation. That is where the biggest risk is, in my opinion. That being said, I'd like to believe, and I'm being very choice in my words here, right? I'd like to believe that the DAO would be responsible enough, the SPS stakeholders specifically would be responsible enough to not have those come out until we had a massive influx of players that could soak up all of those cards that come out. But the DAO has, the SPS stakeholders have definitely not necessarily voted in the way that I thought they would have in the past. So that's such a huge counterparty risk for me when I think it through. So I just need to be able to call that out as a massive, massive disclaimer. So whether it is packs being purchased or maybe we don't sell anymore, right? Maybe we sell the bare minimum and people just look at that, what's in the DAO and are like, oh, it'll eventually come out and I'll just, complete my collection that way. That is where I'm at, right? So 1.7 million packs I would like to see open and circulating by the end of the year, assuming, the DAO and the SPS stakeholders behave and they don't, inflate the pack values too much between now and the end of the year or even into early next year. But that is all I have for you guys in this video. Very curious to know what your thoughts are on that number. And if you want to go ahead and throw your predictions in the video or in the comments, it'd be fun to come back in, 6 months or so and see where we land. But that is all I have for you guys. I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.